Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. This is program number 1067, and I'm your host, Calixte Jr. And, of course, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our YouTube feed. Just be sure to check out RCI on YouTube, and, of course, make sure you subscribe to that page as well. Now, the numbers to call in to tell us if you want to call in to tell us on what's on your plate today. That is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And our WhatsApp number, that is 724-0008. Again, if you want to message in or call in on WhatsApp, it is 724-0008. Some birthday wishes for today going out to Mr. Keeney Thibbles. Happy birthday to you. So hope you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. And also sending birthday greetings to Miss Shanna Joseph. Happy birthday to you, and we're hoping that you're having a splendid birthday as well. Bit of history for today. On this day, in the year 1537, the first printing in England of the complete English language Bible. It was called the Matthew's Bible, with translations by William Tyndale and Miles Coverdale. And that was on this day. It was later updated and was called the Coverdale Bible. In 1582, it was the last Julian calendar day. We're using an older calendar before that point in Spain and Portugal, and as well the Pontifical States. And to sync with the Gregorian calendar, 10 days were skipped, so it moved from October the 4th to October the 15th the following day. In 1883, on this day, the Orient Express departed on its first official journey from Paris, France to Istanbul, Turkey. In the year 1900, that would have actually been the Ottoman Empire, but 1900, in the final confrontation, around 4,000 Ashantis are defeated by the British in the Gold Coast, what is now Ghana. 1957, on this day, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, which was the first artificial Earth satellite into elliptical low Earth orbit. 1993, on this day, troops and tanks of President Boris Yeltsin shelled and occupied the Russian White House in Moscow, the House of Government of the Russian Federation. And in 2006, on this day, WikiLeaks was launched. It was created by Internet archivist Julian Assange. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The dish of the day is brought to you the kind compliments of our friends at Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Joux Lanes, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Sorry about that. And yes, we are back for our dish of the day. Interestingly enough, over in Canada, they have in fact witnessed a change in the presiding officer of their House of Commons, and he is in fact Mr. Greg Fergus, representing a part of Quebec, just over the border, really, from Ottawa, of Hull, Alimay, and that is in fact the first time that there will be a black Speaker of the House. He's the 38th House Speaker being elected there, and he is a member of the Liberal Party. He is one of 338 members of the House of Commons meeting up in Ottawa. And in fact, he comes at a very interesting time because there was an issue with the visit of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and he, while there, the former speaker, in fact, called for a round of applause in celebration of an individual Ukrainian gentleman who was fighting the Russians, as he put it, but in fact he was fighting the Russians as part of the Ukrainian Nazi Party back during World War II. And that certainly caused quite a stir of condemnation around the world and forced the former speaker there to resign. We're seeing lots of movements of speakers over in Jamaica. The wife of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, she has in fact also been recently elected as Speaker of the House of Assembly over there. And it's also being suggested that even over in the case of the United States of America as well, we'll be seeing some shifts in that regard. Now, coming back to home, the matter of bridges. These have been very expensive infrastructural projects that we've taken on of late, and they've certainly been made into lots of political banter as well. And you recall quite a lot of fuss was made by then opposition member Mr. Guy Joseph over the costs of bridges which were constructed along the now Julian Hunt Highway in the Bois-de-Wage area as well as the Bonte area, claiming that those bridges were very expensive and that they could have been built cheaper, and was questioning the price of those elements. I think about 5 million and a little under 11 million in those two instances of Bonte and the Bois-de-Wage bridges. Of course, those were 4-lane bridges, and there was also another bridge to be built along that highway, and that is that of the Shock Bridge, which was built, constructed back when the Castries-Grosley Highway was being rebuilt as part of that whole thrust towards development of the northwest coast of the island for tourism and to connect the new Rodney Bay area. That bridge was built back in the 1970s as part of that infrastructural push towards opening up new opportunities in the north in Grosley. And of course, it has had its fair share of issues of late. In particular, we saw just that during Hurricane Thomas, when that structure, there was a collapse of, I think, one of the culverts. Was it? Maybe no, it wasn't a collapse, but it's certainly the material that was on these culverts. They got washed off, and of course, effectively, these are 3 large culverts, co-culverts that are pretty much what we call a bridge, and of course, it has seen some issues over the years. Now, it has been down for replacement for quite some time. It was, in fact, supposed to have been completed. There were designs which were done for that structure. Again, for a 4-lane bridge, obviously, because the intention has been for quite some time to extend the highway up to Grosley to become a dual carriageway. We can all appreciate the need for that with all the congestion on that corridor. And unfortunately, it still has not been done. It was, in fact, I think, funded at one point under the DVRP, and it still has not been completed. We've seen a $46 million bridge constructed along the Cul-de-sac River. And of course, questions as to, is it really necessary to be putting up that structure at this time? And but it was built, still is there, as work continues to try to connect it to the roundabout that is under construction right about now. And we have also seen other bridges like the PI bridge being completed within that period of time, but still work outstanding on this Shock Bridge, which is certainly a vital link to the north of the island. We saw the issues during Thomas when I think there were about 2 bridges that were down in that point, and traffic was forced to actually go as far as into the Plateau Montciton de Rameau area to actually head back down into the Castries Grosley Highway. So we certainly do need to ensure that these are resilient structures, that they are going to withstand significant weather events, which are becoming far more frequent than before. And so let's hope, of course, that there is some attention paid to this as quickly as possible. And what was indicated yesterday by the Minister of Responsibility for Finance was that the structure is, in fact, down for some remedial works. But, of course, in the long run, or really in the short run, really, it certainly does need to be replaced. And so let's hope that actually gets some due attention as quickly as possible, as, of course, there are plans for the upgrade of that highway nonetheless. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll take in some calls and touch on some other matters.
This has been The Daily Dish.
That gossip and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody, we got the best as an island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses U Grizzly, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Sorry about that. We're back again. It's not the news, but we're back here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message in, and that is to 724 0008 724-0008. I think we've actually got that clip available for of Senior Minister King speaking. I'm not sure if you're seeing it, Maureen. I should. It was sent in. Maybe there's an issue with the Wi-Fi or something. Yeah, that looks like the problem right about now. Let's see if it goes through. Yes. Okay. We could probably play that to give some context to this whole issue of the Shock Bridge, partly because I think there was a flyer circulating on social media suggesting that the bridge had been structurally compromised and was in need of immediate attention. Let's take a listen to this clip. Okay, looks like we're having some issues actually getting it to play at this moment. Sorry about that. our apologies for that. But of course, the issue of infrastructure was dealt with yesterday by the senior minister and minister for infrastructure, speaking on this matter, and of course also pointing out the need to significantly overhaul the island's infrastructure at this time. He paid particular attention to some ongoing rehabilitation works as well as efforts along the West Coast Road and Millennium Highway, which he of course indicated is overdue at this time. Let's take in our first call for the day. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom.
Mr. George.
How are you doing, caller?
Not too bad.
Wonderful.
I watch America. America is in a bouillon. What's going on in America?
Are you talking about American politics? You're talking about the issues of the usual issues of
No, they can't replace him. They take the Republican take a week off to sit down and cipher things. What's going on there? And the worst of it all is the Ukraine affair, because America go in and said they will back Ukraine. They won't put boots on the ground, but they'll help them financially and with weapons. Now some of the Republicans said America don't have money to back Ukraine. So if they turn their back on Ukraine, what will happen there? Russia will go in and kill more people than the German killed Jews. And what will happen? Because they're not boots on the ground. And they make the world know they're going to support them in that war. But Americans are not good soldiers. They are not good war people. I was born before the Second World War. And I was in England when America invaded Vietnam. There was another country, I don't know if you could help me there, is either China or France was fighting war there in Vietnam. But they moved out. When they moved out, America moved in to show the people of the world how they do it. And then they get a blood cause. More people going back in America in black bag than they have sun on the beach. And they decide to pull out from Vietnam. And there was demonstration and everything in New York, in every state in America, to pull back the troops from Vietnam. And they did do it. They pulled those boys back, but they killed. So many of them get killed in Vietnam. And the worst thing ever happened on this earth, America take poison before they pull the troops out. I don't, the name of the poison, I think, is Orange Globe or something like that. And they spray the whole jungle of Laos and Vietnam, killing all the trees, not even one piece of grass you could see on the ground, that they can stay in the air and bomb the Vietnamese. And they just couldn't finish them. The Vietnamese start digging hole and go down in hole now. Instead, they stay in the bush, in the grass, because there is no grass there. There is no trees. The trees standing up without leaves. And I think that was very wicked, very wicked, very wicked. And when the American that was working in that went back home, they started having children without eyes. Yeah, children born without eyes and without leg and without arms, because that thing affects them too. That poison they put there for the Vietnamese. Yes, and then America come out from that and Bush decide the Russian was fighting in Afghanistan, and they pull out, and the Russians still go in exactly like Vietnam. They go in there, and they say they're going to show the Russians how they do it. They get a bloody nose, and everybody see on the television how they was running, and that time there, the amount of hardware they live in those countries. Billions of pounds in Afghanistan. And that is in my lifetime I saw those things happening. Okay.
Yeah, was a horrible thing, caller, without a doubt. And I think that generally speaking, especially in the West, I don't know that there's such a great appetite for the traditional form of warfare. What has really been able to bolster countries like the United States, of course, is their nuclear capabilities and the potential to strike and devastate from afar, from a distance. And of course, we've seen the rise of those elements. Of course, the Air Force being very important within that mix as well, their nuclear sub-capabilities. So being able to strike from afar and not having to necessarily be putting troops on the ground only at the point when you have perhaps some level of an advantage. And the potential to lose lives is certainly not an easy thing for leaders, politicians to put people out there and to take that. I mean, the nature of war now is that it's very visible. It's not a very distant thing. It's the coverage is. We've seen that, of course, with the Gulf War and even that aspect of it, and even right now, with Ukraine, the amount of coverage that you're getting in these war zones is unprecedented. And people are now, the stomach of it is not that great. So it's going to be difficult, as you rightfully pointed out. And the other big issue, of course, is that especially in Vietnam, especially in Afghanistan, it was very difficult for a lot of Americans to identify with some of these countries, literally. I mean, they just couldn't see how some of these fitted into the overall geopolitics and as to how they were very important. I mean, yes, they understood this was the Cold War and these were proxy wars being fought on these countries, but they still saw them as very, very far away and not major threats.
America is saying right now, if China attack Taiwan, they're going to put boots on the ground. That's all they're saying. They're going to put boots on the ground if China. But China have trillions of people. Those people, they're not going to war with the pictures in the pocket. That's my picture of my daughter or my son or my wife. Those people, they're going to war or die. And when you see the Chinese start letting go Chinese soldiers, it will be like, what is it? It's not like a wasp nest. America could never fight China man to man because look at the difference between men that China have and what America have.
Well, there may be some numerical advantage by way of of numbers with respect to China, but in terms of manpower, but certainly the U.S. has a numerical advantage with every other aspect of it, though. Whether we're talking about
one war. Well, since I born there, America ever go in and come out victorious?
Well, I mean, it's been involved in a number of conflicts around the world, the caller. And it's, I mean, look, we saw, for instance, what occurred with the Iraq War. We've seen what has occurred in the Middle East since then. And there have been a number of conflicts.
Up to now, they have the men in Iraq. Up to now, they get a bloody nose in Iraq in the long run. So everywhere they go, they get in a bloody nose.
Well, they may not see it that way, caller. I think they may see Iraq as a sort of almost a success story.
They go and say, I am the backer of Ukraine. Backer, and now they're asking to come out. They're spending too much money. and they will just leave Ukraine
Well,
dry like that?
the issue with Ukraine and perhaps has always been is that the U.S. is part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization,
Yeah.
NATO, and they
NATO.
have
NATO,
thought
part of NATO.
NATO, right, and they have thought that a fair part of the responsibility of this entire Russia-Ukraine matter has to fall
There is
upon
51
Europe.
country involved there.
No, but their issue is that Europe has to play its part. I mean, Europe is the one that is facing the greatest threat. Europe is the continent that is most highly dependent on the Russian gas and the situation with Ukraine. It's been most greatly impacted. The Baltic
Because
countries,
Russia
for
is
instance,
in Europe, any.
they are very much impacted by what is going on. They're seeing the price of heating going up every month, and so it's certainly been a major impact on the part of Europe, and for the U.S., I suspect, even though they are certainly, of course, the world's military superpower, they are hoping that I think Europe will pull more weight in this entire matter. They may have a point. It is certainly in Europe's interest to be able to perhaps do that. But of course, boots on the ground, it's very unlikely that we're going to see it happening. Europe has said that they're not interested in doing so. They're more interested in, of course, securing their own borders. Some of the countries involved, they have to be strengthening their own military spending, which has been relatively low compared to the United States. And so it will be interesting to see how Europe takes it upon itself. And I mean,
what I would like to see and hear from America, my words is like steel, not to be broken. Once America come out with those words and give people assurance they will do the thing they say they're going to do, I will be pleased with that. But do you find that MP coming around and say too much money we're spending and we have to withdraw from Ukraine? There is no policy in America right now, and we say the greatest nation on earth. Where's your word? Your word must be good and still not to be ended. Good afternoon, Mr.
All right then, caller. Thanks very much for that contribution. And we actually are also due for our weather report at this time. I think we're going to try to take it in. So we head across to Maureen, and she'll guide us through that weather update.
Thank you so much, Calixte. The weather report at this time is made possible with the compliments of Island Style Thailand Bath, and also with the compliments of Flow.
So stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home. Really? Yeah, it's always the same white
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at RCI, Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in is 4523046. Again, 4523046. And you can also message in via WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Let's go to the phone lines. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunchroom. And what's on your plate today?
Hey, Mr. Calixte, what's happening? I haven't called you for the past 2 years.
Oh, it's been a while. Where have you been?
Well, I've been around all the time, you know.
Well, we have to treat you as a prodigal son. Welcome back.
Yes. How you doing? How's your family?
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
And yours?
Let me tell you. You see that war between Ukraine and Russia? That ain't going to stop. Because, let me tell you, if America has put millions of dollars inside of there, you know,
Billions, yes.
In machinery, in all sorts of things. And it's not a winnable war, it's a lossable war, you know. It's a lossable war. You understand? And Putin is not stepping down. He's not stepping down. Just about 3 weeks ago, they got a little chance to go to do some exporting some food to Israel and so on in the Black Sea. Okay, he's not stopping down. There are amount of Ukrainians that right now they have 100 and something thousand Ukrainian soldiers that is traumatized by that war. They lose the arms, some of them lose the eye. And you know what is cooling them out? Cannabis, marijuana. Okay? The amount of men that lost their wife, their children, their wife has been raped in front of them and killed. That war is not a winnable war for them. It's a losable war. Putin is not stopping. You know? Putin is looking for a third world war to start something. You understand? Putin wants America to attack for him to start doing what he's doing, but that is not going to stop.
You think
Just
Putin really wants a third world war?
Yes. Haiti is in a mess. Haiti is in a real mess. A mess, and it's Haiti that have to stop, that have to solve their own problem. Kenya is sending 1,000 troops there.
There's been an agreement by the Security Council on it, on the
Right.
UN Security Council regarding
they're
Haiti.
taking a few men from Jamaica, a few in Trinidad and few in Barbados. Well, they haven't made name home yet to send some men. But if I was the PM here or the commissioner, I will not risk my life and send my policemen here. My policemen here, hands are tied up. I will not send them to Haiti. Haiti have to get up and smell the coffee. You understand? Because they had earthquake, Yopakatan. All what that happened to them, Yopakatan, they're just fighting between them. So I would leave that alone. Okay? They wanted Canada to go inside Canada, the Yopaka, they're not going. So it's Haiti that have to solve their own problem. Calixte, I hear you this afternoon, and we'll see you again, my boy.
All right. Thanks very much, caller, for that contribution. And, of course, the number to call in is 4523046, 4523046. And you can also message in via WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Part of the situation with the United States, of course, is that it is trying to balance its own domestic politics with what is going on over in Ukraine. And like I said, in as much as you would think that, yes, there is some level of empathy and what is going on there. And of course, we've seen a considerable amount of money being spent supporting Ukraine. The appetite for other areas of spending, that's very real right now as well. And a major issue is that of migration. And one can also say that to some degree, the impact of what we're seeing in terms of migration has quite a bit to do with some of the policies that the United States itself have actually put in place. And in particular, the issue of Venezuela. We have seen what has occurred with Venezuela over the years since the rise of Hugo Chavez. This is a country that has gone through so many ebbs and flows. At one point in time, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. It sits just on the basis, of course, of its oil reserves. It can even be considered perhaps the wealthiest country in the world. And it it certainly is not seeming that way right about now because of the challenges that they have with the embargoes, the bans on their finances that have been placed by the United States on the Maduro regime. The belief there is that, of course, it perhaps cannot afford to have that government continue to rule over Venezuela, and the belief, of course, that it needs to be stymied. And we've seen exactly that happening in terms of the resources of that country. That country simply just cannot export its oil as it used to before. It certainly has been a petro country, depending on the petrodollar for quite some time. And a significant part of its economy, the majority of its economy, is dependent upon that. And so not being able to export as before has certainly caused significant problem, which of course lead to additional issues. The refinery capacity is not what it used to be as a result of lack of maintenance. And it certainly is just not in a very good place. And what we're seeing now is a significant wave of migration coming out of Latin America over the past few years. And it seems to be getting even more extreme as those numbers are increasing. And literally, people are walking from Venezuela to the United States of America. That is the journey of what you're actually seeing. A very real migration of people literally moving in that way, walking to the border, trying to get to cross that Rio Grande and to get into the United States to seek asylum. And it is, of course, also impacting all the countries along the route. In fact, not too long ago, the Costa Rican president, he declared a state of emergency. And just to share that story with you, coming from CNN, this was coming from last week, Wednesday, in fact, it reads as follows. Costa Rica's president has ordered a state of emergency, citing a surge of migrants crossing through the country towards the United States. The people that arrive are passing across Costa Rica, trying to get to the United States, basically. President Rodriguez Chavez told a press conference Tuesday. According to Chavez, the people crossing through his country are from around the world, including Venezuela, Ecuador, China, Colombia, Haiti, Yemen, and Bangladesh. Let's take in a call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom. What's on your plate today? Hi, caller. How are you doing? So you're very faint today.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, we're hearing you a little better now.
Okay, I'm calling to say that I think it is about time that we have a program in place where people who are not taking responsibilities for the people that are out there homeless, where the state should take on the role. Because there's this story of this young lady who is on the Leslie Land Road there, and she's always there totally naked, cleaning the garbage and all sorts of things. That's the story I was being told. And I was even told she is actually a former preschool teacher. And there she is, like, whole day, just out there. Nobody is taking responsibility for that young woman. Now, you can't have a young woman out there totally naked. And there are lots of creepos around the place. You don't know what they're going to do to her. So I think it is time we put things in place that these kind of people, especially when you realize family members are not take them in, do something. As a woman, I wouldn't want that to be my daughter, my sister, anybody like that, family member. That's not right. And imagine today, I feel like a proud mama because my daughter is getting an award in the United States. Well,
congratulations to you and to her.
She works with a social program that caters for the homeless and the destitute and even the prostitutes. And she did run a very heavy program. And she was nominated. And today she's getting an award because she took that work very, very seriously. And she's a young woman.
Unfortunately, caller, we are not taking social services as seriously as we should here in St. Lucia. and it's usually always an afterthought. We hope that it can be done by private citizens, by institutions, by the church, and there is a role. There is a role for the state, and I think it is a matter that we certainly have to take very seriously. And from so many different, that situation that you're relating, for instance, here you have an individual who is exhibiting antisocial behavior, right?
Naked.
So the person is naked on the street, which is an offense, right? A criminal
But she
offense.
doesn't know what she's doing.
But she probably doesn't know what she's doing, obviously. So first and foremost, somebody needs to report the matter to the authorities, and the authority, whether it's the police, whether it's the vulnerable persons unit within the police, somebody needs to step in and therefore find out what's going on, because the person is apparently, as you're relating, is an adult, I take it, a young adult, but an adult nonetheless, and so that person has certainly clearly rights and but has to be engaged to find out, well, what is the situation? Why are they acting out this way? Clearly, we say clearly, but one can suppose that there may be some issues, whether it's a mental health issue, whether it's depression, whatever it is that's going on right there.
Yeah.
But and then therefore social services, the Ministry of Health, they all have to somehow get involved.
Yeah, and it is time, because I think last year, 2021, this young woman, that is supposed to, they call her a prostitute, was killed in the most heinous way and dropped at pigeon points. When you have this people out, they just can't, with nobody checking for them or looking out for them. So now later, anybody will want to take advantage of them. And when they're taken advantage of, nobody stands up for them. Nobody stands up because they consider them, they're not contributing to society or anything. So who cares? And this shouldn't be right.
Yeah, and the other challenge too for the poor social workers that we do have, they will tell you that they are probably overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that's the other challenge that, do we have enough social workers? I think I've made the point before that Cuba has, I think, one social worker. That's been their target, and this is what they've been trying to maintain for since they've been, under communist rule and whatnot.
Yeah.
That they've got one social worker for every 600 of their population, right? So, I mean, if you look at that from the perspective of St. Lucia, if we were to do the same, that would mean we'd have we need about 300 social workers.
Yes.
And I think if we have a tenth of that, I think we may have a lot, right? So it goes to show that.
Me and my sister was part of it,
Yeah, and so it goes to show that we in that area very, very much under-resourced. And you do need the manpower for the social workers, for the counselors, for the psychosocial support. There's a number of agencies that have to come together to work together too, and the coordination is also another very important aspect.
Now it's the same thing my daughters tell me. All is not nice and dandy up there either, because when you need the allocation, you have to be begging sometimes for the allocation to do the work you want to do for them out there. So I can understand we've been a small country with not much, but where are the other people in society that can assist in doing something to help those people?
And the other thing about it too, caller, is that we're at a point now where we're seeing some of these things being manifested at the end point. The depression was not caught maybe early enough, right? So we don't have sufficient mental health, community mental health awareness and support. So the problems get worse and worse, and they get to a point where they're so complicated. So to unpack them now, they're just simply aren't the resources to be able to do so for a lot of people, and it's very unfortunate.
But I'm hoping that they can take off the street for one, because at the end of the day, that's a woman, and if you are a woman just walking down normal, well-dressed, everything, sometimes men want to touch or grab at you. Far less a woman that just they loose for them to feel they can do what they want. want with.
Exactly,
And
and,
that's what I fear.
and basically, as you're rightly saying, this person is in a very vulnerable situation, and needs support. They need intervention. They need somebody to the states to be able to come in to do so. So yes, I think the family. You should ask the question. Well, okay, where is the family and what have you? Yes, but we don't know sometimes. What has occurred. As well, because for all we know, for instance, that may be part of the problem. So it is a very complex thing, but again, that is why you need to have caseworkers who can build the trust with the individual, sit down, ensure that they at least get into a comfortable state of mind where they can actually begin to open up and relate their issues. So that kind of intervention requires professionals, I would also say, to be able to do so. People who actually have been trained to make those kind of interventions, because sometimes, others you may try to assist, and it might not necessarily go too well either. So, but thanks very much for raising that issue. Very much appreciated. And of course, the number to call in. We don't have very much time left, really. It's almost time to end the program, and I actually do have to leave at exactly 2:00. So thanks so very much for calling in. Tomorrow is, I think, Teacher Appreciation Day here in St. Lucia. I think you're supposed to be dressing up, if you so choose, in your uniforms of your alma mater, and we'll be trying to play some of our appreciation to teachers when we come back tomorrow for the program right here on the Lunchroom at Radio Caribbean International. In the meantime, do enjoy the rest of your day. I'm your host, Calixte George Jr., saying goodbye.